One night, a 16-year-old girl was babysitting for two young boys. Their parents weren't due to come home until very late, so she let them stay up and watch some TV. One of the boys was flipping channels when he came to an emergency news bulletin. The reporter said that a crazed murderer had escaped from a nearby insane asylum and was on the run from the local authorities. He was believed to be in the area and was armed with a hatchet. The police cautioned residents to lock their doors and windows because the man was extremely dangerous. The young boys began to panic, and the babysitter didn't want them to get upset, so she put them to bed early. As she tucked them in, they kept asking her if she had locked all the doors and windows. She assured them that she would lock everything. Then she went back downstairs and resumed watching television. Sometime later, one of the boys was awoken by a loud crash. He wasn't sure if it was his imagination, so he sat up in bed and listened intently. After a while, he began to hear weird sounds coming from downstairs. He wondered if he was just letting his imagination run away with him. Maybe it was just the sound of the babysitter watching television downstairs. The boy heard the sound again and woke his brother. Together, they listened at the door to the bedroom. The boys began to shake with fear. Terrified, they pushed their beds up against the door and barricaded themselves inside their bedroom. The sounds eventually stopped, but the boys were too afraid to leave the safety of their bedroom. For hours, they cowered in their bedroom, with their beds jammed securely against the door. Later that night, when the boys' parents returned, they were shocked to find a gruesome scene. There was a trail of blood leading from the hallway all the way up the stairs. In a panic, the mother screamed out her sons' names. When the two boys heard their mother calling, they pulled back their beds and opened their bedroom door. Lying at the top of the stairs, in a pool of her own blood, was their babysitter. Her arms had been cut off at the elbows and her legs had been cut off at the knees. She had used her bloody stumps to drag herself up the stairs, trying to warn them. Now, that's one dedicated babysitter. There was a young girl who was in need of a job, was able to find work as a babysitter for a couple who lived in a large, isolated old house. They were going out to see a movie that night and left the teenage babysitter in charge of their three young children. The babysitter put the children to bed when it got too late and then went downstairs to watch some television. She was just getting comfortable when she heard the phone ringing. When she answered it, all she heard was heavy breathing, followed by a man's voice asking,
"Have you checked on the children?"
Freaked out, she hung up the phone, trying to convince herself that it was just someone playing a practical joke on her. She went back to watching television, but about 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. She picked up the receiver and heard hysterical laughter from the other end of the line. Then the same voice asked,
"Why haven't you checked on the children yet?"
The babysitter slammed down the phone. The poor girl was frightened out of her wits and immediately called the police. The operator at the police station told the babysitter that if the man called again, she should try to keep him talking. That would give the police time to trace the call. A few minutes later, the phone rang a third time, and when the babysitter answered it, she heard the heavy breathing again. The voice on the line said,
You should really check on the children.
The babysitter listened to him laughing hysterically for a long time. She hung up the phone again, and almost immediately, it rang again. This time it was the operator from the police station who yelled,
Get out of the house right now! The call's coming from upstairs!
The babysitter dropped the phone in shock, and suddenly she heard heavy footsteps walking down the stairs. Without pausing for a second, she ran out of the house as fast as her legs could carry her. Just as she closed the front door behind her, a man's hand slammed against the glass. She screamed and ran out into the street just as a police car was pulling up outside. The police searched the house and found the 2 children upstairs, hiding in a closet, crying uncontrollably. In the parents' bedroom, they found a bloody axe lying on the floor next to the upstairs phone. The back window was wide open and the curtains were blowing in the breeze. There was no sign of the madman who had made the phone calls. He had escaped into the night. When the police officers arrived, they managed to interrupt his horrible plan to kill the 2 children and the poor babysitter.
Hey, this is the Grimtail Brothers. Make sure you like and subscribe for more.